Hello, Michael here with something a little bit different this week. Today I'm going to be talking about Redshift, which is a renderer which I read about in a 3D magazine while I was waiting for a train once, and then I promptly forgot about it until recently. And I wanted to show you guys this renderer because I'm just going through a trial period with it at the moment, and it's really cool and I am thoroughly impressed so far. So I want to show you what I've got set up here. It's just a scene you might be familiar with if you're familiar with my channel. I've got my robot, got a bunch of graphs, it's about 500,000 polys, got a HDRI background in, and I'm just going to show you an IPR render really quickly. So I'm just going to pull this out of the way, to minimizing that. I'm going to pull this out of the way and bring up the render settings so I can show you what I've got it set to. So it's 1280 by 720, and the output for IPR, it's going to go up to 512, and it's working in progressive, so basically it's just going over each pixel until it gets to the target pass, which is 512. So let's have a look. So I did this one just before, just real quickly. I'm going to adjust the gamma so you can see what I'm sort of looking to get it to. I think 0.85 will probably do it. And then let's do an IPR and have a look at how quickly it renders. So as you can see, it's already pretty much gone to 16 samples, but what's really impressive is if I do this off screen, you'll see it update and come down the pipeline super quickly. This renderer is so fast, it is blowing my mind. Obviously it's different to Mental Ray or RenderMan, as it uses a whole bunch of different materials, but from what I've seen so far, it seems to be able to do all the sort of stuff that RenderMan and Mental Ray can do. But it does it really fast. As you can see it updating here in real time. I'm just moving the camera around on my second screen, and you can see that it's handling all these reflections. I'm using a depth of field, so which generally creates quite a lot of noise, but you can see that as it progressively goes over it, it's sort of blurring it out nicely and it's softening it, and you can see it in the foreground more obviously. So quite a lot of noise on these reflections, but as it gets closer to its target, it starts to look pretty good, and it's not taking long at all. Obviously I'm doing this in real time, and I know that this particular image from rendering it at 1080 took 4 hours to get to 512 samples, and we're probably about halfway there at the moment. I might show you how long it takes to do a full render to 512 at the end of the video, but yeah, I just wanted to sort of show you what the interactive looks like, and this is insane. Obviously it's starting to look really good now. You're getting that really nice definition on the grass. You can see his hand is pretty much rendered in completely now. A little bit of noise in the shadow areas, but that's to be expected. But overall, pretty impressive. So I'll do a quick zoom in here so you can see it work the bump map, and I will also, and this is really cool as well, just grab the outliner. So I'm just going to grab my perspective camera, and as you can see, while I've been sort of doing that, it's already started to render it in quite nicely, and you can see the bump mapping here, which is coming up pretty cool. But I could actually just go into my camera now and go to depth of field and just turn it off, and it's going to update it live. So I can look at that hand now and look at the bump mapping that I've done on his hand in real time and make any adjustments to the files if I wanted to, so it can sort of work better with my lighting and bump to the correct height. So that's super cool, and obviously with the depth of field off, if I zoom out again, that noise is going to sort of be taken care of a lot quicker, because depth of field tends to create a lot of noise in an image. Now I haven't nailed this color wise exactly to what I did with my previous render, but I think I've done a better job in this as my second try. I think the colors are a little bit closer to what I was aiming for. So obviously I've been talking about this for the first couple of minutes, but super fast, and the reason for that is it's a GPU based renderer. So Mental Ray and RenderMan are both CPU based renderers, and use your computer CPU, which can be a bit of a problem if you're running other tasks as well, because obviously they're taking up CPU. But a GPU renderer just uses your graphics card to render, which is what they're designed to do. They're designed to render graphics, obviously, because that's what they're called. I'm using a GTX 980. It's not overclocked or anything exciting like that. And as you can see, all this is coming down pretty quick. And obviously, 980 is a pretty high-end card, but even compared to like a 1060, it's roughly the same benchmark. So, you know, this speed in which this is coming down is super impressive. I'm going to show you a couple of other things that this can do really quick as well. So you could maybe look at giving it a try like I am, and try it for its, I think it's got a 30-day trial, which I'm doing. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens at the end of the 30 days, but it's looking good so far. So I'm going to show off some of the atmospheric effects that you can get with Redshift now. As you can see here, I've got a little scene set up with some cubes, or cuboids. I'm just going to pull this off the screen and bring in the render view. And as you can see, I've got IPR turned on, so it's updating. And what I've done is I've set it so there's a height value assigned to the fog, or you know, the atmosphere. So it sort of works like a ground fog, and you can see the top of it basically there, and I've got a light. If I turn it around, you can see the light there. And then I move the camera, you can see the top of the fog. And obviously you can see that this is rendering in real time, and it's rendering super quick. And I like the way that Redshift seems to update the IPRs actively, and it even does it for geometry. So if I grab this middle one here, and I just pull down its height, you can see it's going to update its height, and that's something that RenderMan doesn't do. So if you're trying to do a lot of iterative design to something while rendering, it can be super useful to be able to have just the IPR running in a second screen, and then be working away on your scene, adding in the, you know, environment lights. I could pop in another light now if I wanted to. So now I've got another light in the scene. You won't be able to see it because, or you will be able to see it because, but I don't have it affecting the volume scattering. I've just got it affecting the geometry. So I can give it some volume contribution now. I could go 100 or 1.0 rather, and it's going to affect it quite a lot. If I just use 0.1 for instance, or 0.01, and I turn off visibility, you won't be able to see it in the render, but you will be able to see it affect the geometry and the fog. So that's really cool, and I really like how this can update on the fly. And obviously for something like animation, it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to watch your animations render in real time. But if you're looking to, you know, batch out an animation, and you want to get a sort of low res, sort of 16 samples, 540p or something, this is going to look, you know, really good really quickly. And if you're trying to do something for a client, get some feedback really quickly, it's going to save time and money, which is obviously important. So I've got a much simpler scene here. I just wanted to show, just to show you how quick you can get a sharp render if you've just got something a bit more simple happening. I could have been modeling this guy in Maya with this IPR render just happening in the background. As you can see, it's updating it basically in real time. Obviously it takes a little bit to just come down the pipe to get it to the sample rate that I've got it set to. But I mean, for quality of render, you're getting something really nice, really fast. As I have shown, you can put something in the scene like a sphere, for instance, and move it around, and it will update as you create it. And then even if you go, I'm just going to pull the hypershade up now, and I'll show you what that actually looks like. I'm just going to grab a shader. Let's grab the car paint one because that's quite nice, and assign it just like you would, and there you go. You got that really nice high specular coated car paint applied to that sphere. And like, you know, it's a new render engine for me, so I'm not used to all the materials and things, but so far I've been impressed with just the basics of what I've seen. I'm just using on our old tongue face here, I'm just using the basic material that they have, which is quite versatile, which is, you can apply bumps and specular maps and all that sort of stuff too. So as you can see, he came out really nice. He looks basically exactly like I had him looking with RenderMan. And then obviously the other materials that are supplied with Redshift are quite useful as well. Okay, here's something a little bit different to maybe what you've seen in other renderers. So with Redshift, you can render fluids, Maya fluids, if you're using an OpenVDB, basically OpenVDB sort of workaround, where the OpenVDB writes a file to your hard drive, which Maya can then read as an OpenVDB from a Maya fluid. Sorry, that was a bit of a weird description, but I'll show you what I mean. So I've just grabbed this OpenVDB Cloud Bunny from the internet. That's free, and I'll just quickly click IPR, and you'll see very quickly that this Cloud Bunny renders up, and for about 3 seconds worth of rendering, that's a pretty nice result, I've got to say. So I'll just show you from a couple of different angles how quickly it renders up. Actually, I'm going to make sure that I'm rendering the whole thing. So yeah, you can see that from all angles, even as I turn the camera off screen, you can see that it's rendering super quick, and there is no editing happening here. I'm showing you this turnaround as I do it, just with Maya on my other screen. So yeah, super impressive. It's a little bit finicky to get started on. I was having some problems installing OpenVDB, but once I got it figured out, it was pretty easy to get going. And you can even create your own OpenVDB fluids based on Maya, which I'll show you here. So I've got a Maya fluid here, which I've just created a visualization for, so you can easily see, and I can stop it anywhere on the timeline. I could go in and edit it, and it's going to essentially create, I'll show you the node in the node editor. So in the node editor, you can see sort of what I'm doing here. Essentially, what's happening is we're taking this file node, which is grabbing the fluid shape, and then writing a file to your hard drive, which you can see here, and then using this visualizer to show it update every frame. So basically every frame, it's overwriting the file and updating it, and then you're seeing the result. So you can see as I sort of move through the timeline that creates that sort of weird billowy cloud thing, which I sort of just did in a few seconds. And I've got a light here already, so I can render that. So I'll quickly show you what that looks like. So very simple, just a cloud basically. And if I go into the hyper shade, I've got a volume attached to it, so I can change things like the tint of it. I can make it hyper red, very straightforward, easy things like that. And once I got this going, very, very easy to work with. So if you're wanting to put in some customized Maya fluids, you can very easily do that, as you can see, with very little setup cost. And also we've got our sword kit here, sans sword and body. I just want to quickly show some subsurface scattering that you can get with Redshift as well, and how fast that might work out for you as well. So here's the IPR just loading up as I talk, and as you can see, it's coming down the pipe super quick. Once again, I know I've said it before, but man, I am so impressed by the speed. So I'm just going to move the camera around a bit so you can sort of see it from all angles, and sort of see how the sorry, the light's blocking there. See how the subsurface works. I haven't done my texture map on him, so his skin tone's not quite correct, but as you can see, with his ear in particular, getting that nice subsurface scattering. And I just did this in like 5 seconds as well. I didn't try too hard to get the subsurface colors correct. I just sort of bashed a couple of different colors together, and I can show you that super quick as well, just with the hypershade editor. But really, the skin material that they supply is very easy to use. It's very similar to RenderMan if you're familiar with it. It's got a shallow, a mid, and a deep scatter, which is just those, and then you apply weight to them to determine how thick the layer is essentially. And it comes together super easy, as obviously as you can see. You get a nice quality render. So once again, as an option, it's looking really good for small studios like my own, to be able to get results quickly and to be able to make the move easily from other renderers. If you're already familiar with other renderers, it looks like this could be a good option. So what about the things about it that aren't so good? Well, I've only been using it for about a week, so I can't speak with 100% confidence on its ease of use and things like that. Generally, I found it very easy to switch over from RenderMan. All the materials seemed logical to set up and use. But I would say that because the render is only a couple years old, it doesn't have the user base that something like RenderMan has, which means there isn't that much documentation out there from other users on how to do things and whatnot, as you might find with RenderMan. There's obviously a lot of people that use RenderMan. So if you're not an expert, and I'm not saying that I'm some sort of expert, but if you don't already have a good foundational knowledge of rendering and material setup and things like that, you might find this to be a difficult place to start. But certainly not unfathomable that someone might start rendering on this engine before any other one. Also, compared to RenderMan, there is no non-commercial version of it like RenderMan has a non-commercial version, so you will be paying a commercial license fee. And obviously I'm just using the trial at the moment, which is why you've got the watermarks over every render. But yeah, it's definitely a robust trial, and it gives you everything that you can try. So it's if you want to try it for free, just go ahead and download it and see how it works. It's very easy to install. I had no problems whatsoever getting it from their website. And actually, I will say that the documentation on their website is really good. It's very straightforward to follow. They show how to set things up in Maya specifically, so it should be very easy for someone to follow, even if they don't have tons and tons of experience. So yeah, the commercial licensing fee is $500 for a single node, which would be what I would be using. Which, when you compare it to RenderMan, is RenderMan's commercial license, I believe, is $500 as well. So if you're using it commercially, like I was with RenderMan 20, you are going to pay $500 anyway. So the thing for me is whether or not I go commercial with RenderMan 21, or if I go commercial with Redshift. And for the speed, I would say I'd actually end up saving money in the long term by buying the commercial license for Redshift over RenderMan. And that's speaking purely from a small studio standpoint. But realistically, I have been doing some reading on the other types of studios that are using it. Probably the big one would be Blizzard, have been using it in all of their cinematics that they've been doing for Overwatch, if you've been checking them out, and they've been very, very impressive. Obviously, it's not all built in Maya and Redshift, but from what I can tell, a lot of it has been, and it's very, very impressive. Compositing aside, it's done an excellent job rendering some really beautiful imagery. So take that for what it is. You could also go on their forum and have a look at what the other customers are doing. I am familiar with some ads that I've seen. There was an Air New Zealand ad that I looked at recently that I didn't realize used Redshift, and it does. So there you go. There are people out there using it as well. So yeah, I know this is a bit different to my normal videos, but I thought it would be worth telling people about, keeping everyone in the know, because it does seem like a smaller company compared to obviously something like Pixar. But I am a big fan all of a sudden from having forgotten the name of the renderer and seeing it in a magazine and not believed for a second that you could render as quickly as they were saying that you could in the magazine. I think they were basically saying, oh, you can render, you know, we're rendering this basically at 24 frames a second. It was a really simple image, and I think they were using like a Dual Titans or something like that. But I was like, yeah, whatever, you know, no, renderers don't render that quickly. But then obviously happy to see that you can get these sorts of results. So yeah, as a small robot studio as I am, I would say it's going to be really useful for me going forward. But yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know about this. I might be doing some tutorials on Redshift once I've got that commercial license locked down. Yeah, because there is not a ton out there in video format at the moment, it seems. So yeah, look forward for that. But I won't be stopping with my RenderMan tutorials either, so don't worry, all you RenderMan men's and RenderMan ladies out there. I'll keep doing those ones as well, so don't you worry, because I know that's a really valuable resource to people that don't have a budget for software, for rendering software at the moment. Yeah, so, but anyway, thanks for watching and listening to me ramble on about how fast this renderer is. I hope you've enjoyed it, something a little bit different. But yeah, if you like the video, let me know. If you'd like to see other things like this in the future, I could certainly have a look into it. And subscribe if you've just randomly come across this and ask me for some Redshift tutorials, and maybe I'll go ahead and make some of those. But yes, until next time, thank you for watching and happy rendering.